Good morning, everybody. So you're probably looking at this going, what? Has Lori done stuff before? Usually I won't do anything until I'm doing the video so that if it messes up, you can see. But this time, I thought I'm going to try this first because I wasn't sure that my die would cut through this. This is, let me make sure I give you correct information here. Ooh. Okay, here it is. Crafter's Companion Mount Board. And I wasn't sure if the dies, if just a regular die would cut it out. And I wanted to make sure. Now, it did take me 2 runs, but the first time I did it, I didn't go into the magnet. I went into just the regular plate, and I only went part way, and then I ran it back through. But that time I did have it where the die is facing down into the magnet, and it cut it the rest of the way. So I don't know for other ones if we're going to have to run it through twice or just once if we do it into the magnet. So we will find out. We will see how that goes. What I'm doing is, and I'm going to take this with me here. A couple of years ago, I don't know if it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and I think I do have a video up of it. If I do, don't worry about that because I'm going to do it again. I don't know if I did a video or not, but so Crafter's Companion came out with a paper with vintage Santas on it. And I fell in love with it and was showing my sister on the phone. And she fell in love with the vintage Santas. And I already had some shapes cut out from Crafter's Companion. It might not have been craft board. It might have been thicker than this. I'm not sure. But this is the next best thing. I think it was thicker than this, but I've been wanting to ever since then. I got the My Special Paper box because that pack of vintage Santas, I believe I ran through it all and didn't have any more of them. So a few years back or a couple years ago, Crafter's Companion came out with the My Special Papers Christmas papers, and they did have some of the vintage Santas in it. And there's other things that you can use. You just need to find, a picture that you really like, right? Because this was really not the easiest thing to do, what I should be doing. What did I do to the lid? There it is. I'm going to put the papers from this other side, the ones I'm pulling out, into the lid so I don't end up with them all over, scattered all over. And I'm just going to look for some of the vintage Santa papers. And that was the whole reason I bought this. My special papers, it was because it had the vintage Santas. I wish they would come back out with that whole pack because I would buy a ton of them. Because since I made them for my sister, see, there's one. Oops. Since I made them for my sister, I have had quite a few people, because it ends up looking very vintage Christmas, the way these ornaments came out. Like him, he's part of it too, I believe. But he's going to be too big, but we'll take him out just in case he does work. And since I got these, which I don't think it was last year, but it could have been, but I don't think so. I've been wanting to do this project, but I've been worried about how to cut that mount board, because obviously I used up all the shapes that I had bought, the ones that were pre-cut, and don't have any more of those. So I knew that I needed to cut that mount board that I have now. I'm hoping I haven't pulled them all out. And used them in the meantime, thinking I can't cut that mount board, but I know that I specifically bought this paper so that I could do it. But you know, sometimes I get a little harebrained and do things I don't mean to. I really only need one to show you, and it doesn't have to be the Santa, but if I'm going to do it, I want it to be the Santa. I made some for her, and other people want some too, and I don't have any. But they did turn out really nice, so I'm a little worried that I took them out and put them somewhere else. But that one will work, even though he's not part of the vintage Santa, I don't believe. That one will still work, I think. He doesn't look familiar, so I know they said some of the papers in here are papers that didn't make the final cut. It's looking like I'm not finding them. Of course, I'm not going through it completely. So let's try, hopefully I can just put that in. There we go. I'll have to look through closer, but see, this is why they're somewhere in here upside down. I just don't want the mess of having them all spill out. See, a nativity scene would be pretty too. All of it, whatever you would want to put on it is what you would do. Okay. Now I'm also going to say that when I did the one for my sister, I used Mod Podge. So basically, this is what I want, right? A picture like this, and then it would go on here. So I would cut that out. Here's this one. See? So that would get cut out and go on. So now we got to figure out which one do I want to use. This one is not going to look so vintage because he's brighter. Than that one. But I don't know which one to do for y'all. Okay, I'm going to use this one, I think. I'm going to use this one. And I'll have to go through and look through those papers closer before I make more. So I'm going to cut him out generously because I want to be able to move that die around. What's so nice is this time I actually have this shape cut out with the same die I'm going to use for this. So that's nice. Okay, I'll put the other one down, and it's the one with the die. Okay, so die side down. And I just want to see how I want to place it. Do I want his whole arm in? Yes. Do I want to come down? Probably more. Okay. I'm thinking that's a good placement. Just like that. So I'm going to run it through. It's funny because I thought I'm going to go ahead and try this first. Just because I don't want to start this and then it doesn't work. And the whole purpose of the video doesn't work. Although I did have an alternate plan, which would have been to cut it in a rectangle and then trim off the square corners and do like that weird kind of shape. But then now the ones with my sister, I did not have a die to cut the Santa out. So I took the shapes and I cut them out, and then he kind of went over the edge a little bit, and you know, whatever I had to do, and then I kind of trimmed them off, and it's quite a bit of work. But let's try this again so that you can see and we can see. And I can see. Did I just need to turn it towards the magnet right off? And it would have cut all the way through, or does it still need to go through twice? That's something that we need to find out. So the first time I did it with the die facing up to cut into this. And that's when I had to go through again. And then when I went through again, I did it towards the magnet. And that's when it cut all the way through. So that's why I'm saying maybe if it's faced towards the magnet, it won't need to go through twice. But we're going to find out. Because it's pretty thick. Okay, so let's see. Did it go all the way through? No. See, it's not cut. Well, yeah, it is. Huh. How about that? It's not a smooth cut, but I'm not gonna actually worry about that, because what I can do, this is a sander, and I can just kind of give it a quick little sand to smooth it out. So if it's facing the magnet, see, now I'm not sure if we need to double it like this, and I'm thinking that I might. So if I do, it won't matter that that background, that back of that other one looks like this, right? But I may just go ahead and run it through. The other thing I want to say is, depending on your machine and the die and the mount board and all that thickness, you could warp things. You could warp the die. You know, when you're doing something thick like this, be careful. I felt safe using the Anna Griffin. I'm not sure I would have felt so safe using like the Crafter's Companion one. So now is the next part. And here's where, if you have Mod Podge, I think you're pretty set. I don't have Mod Podge right now where I can get to it easy enough. So what I'm going to do is get one of these other glues, and I want to make sure. So I have this gold glue here, and I thought about using that, but then I wasn't sure. So I'm going to try this one, and the thing is, I want an even coat, and I don't want it to be bulky. I want it even and smooth, if that makes sense. So I'm going to take a brush that I'm really not too concerned with using because we're dipping it in glue. And I'm just going to brush the glue all over. And I think I'm going to actually take it in my hand because I don't want to get the glue all over, but I want to get it edge to edge. So and the reason I want the whole thing glued down, I don't want to worry about it bubbling at some time in the future because this is going to be an ornament. We don't want it bubbling up on the tree. So we want to go edge to edge. And I'm thinking that I got the whole edge. And then I'm going to put my paper on, and we're going to be hopefully very careful about this and not have to move it too much. All right. So there we go. It's already on. And as you can see, I still didn't get it on straight. It's a little bit messed up here, but I edged these. And I'll show you later. You know, I did make myself some, and then somebody, the ones I made myself, ended up going to somebody else who wanted them. So I'm just getting a wipe just to see if I can get the glue out of here. You just, unless you take it to water, you don't know. And I'm in the middle of a video, so I can't really do that. You have to excuse my throat right now. You've got a tickle in it today. For some reason, I did bring a drink with me, so let me get this drink. See how that's wanting to kind of buckle now? It's curving, but it is staying on, so that's a good thing. So it needs a tie. of some kind, and I don't know what I have. All right. If we're going to go vintage, this will work, even though it's not something that I would prefer to use. You know what? That's going to be too thick when I go to glue this other side on. Too thick. All right. I'm not crazy about this either, but at least it's not too thick. Okay, so it seems like that white edge keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's still moving a little bit. Okay. I don't usually make these here too long. I cleaned that brush and I need to glue again because I need to glue this one to this one. And so I do want to go edge to edge again. Do make sure with this you're using a good glue. I don't know if Mod Podge will hold this part well enough. I know it will hold the paper on, but I don't know about this board on board here. So I'm just gonna, oops. I still want it smooth, right? But there's gonna be bulk this time because we've got that there, but this is the back side. Oh, we could make it double-sided if we wanted to. I didn't make those double-sided. I did not paint the backs. I'm thinking that I did double layer those also because I remember hiding the hanging ribbon. For that I used kind of a more traditional kind of ribbon. So that can go on here. Now, the paper just seems to keep sliding. Like it doesn't want to be on straight. So there we have the hanging ornament. But this is not enough, right? I mean, it just is not going to do everything. And like I said, I used Mod Podge on the other ones. And before I make any more, I will go get Mod Podge. But I don't have it right now, and I wanted to do this video for you. I've been wanting to do it for a while, especially with doing the ornaments like for the tree and stuff, for my paper tree. I think this still qualifies as paper. Anyway, so the Mod Podge, then I would get the Mod Podge, and what I used was the matte, because I was going for a vintage look. I don't have that. What I do have right now is crystal drops. I know that somewhere I've got the, is this it? crystal glaze. Maybe that's what I'll use, is crystal glaze instead of the crystal drops. But I did like kind of the idea of using the one with the glitter in it. The clear with the glitter. I thought if I'm not doing matte and I'm doing clear, that glitter might be kind of pretty, but let's do the crystal glaze. This is not even opened yet. I know I got one open in there, but I just can't find it right now. So I think with this, to get this on, I could just go over the whole thing, right? But I still think I'm going to brush it. I haven't really used the crystal glaze a lot. I really just want a sealer on here to protect it. I put more on than I meant to. Whew. I just wanted a thin layer. And then let it dry. And then I can come back and add more if I want, because I just wanted to do it in thin layers. And you might tell me, Lori, with that you don't need to do thin layers. But I also didn't worry too much about the brush strokes in it, because I figured that all added to the kind of vintagey charm of it. Okay. So we will need to now let that dry, and then we can come back after it dries and look at the edging, and I'll show you. I'm going to try doing the edging I did for my sister. It was a lot of work. It took a lot of time. I had to do it step by step. When I did the ones for me, I just used little white pearl beads around the edge, but it did not look as cute or as vintagey. So you might have an idea of what you want to use for an edge. When this is dry, I'll come back and do another video on that. But for now, even at just that, I mean, if we had put lace in between them, you know, we could have done that. Maybe a vintage looking lace. Something like that. I don't know. Right now I'm just working on getting glue out of here. I might lose the brush strokes using the glaze. I don't know this time, because I brushed it on and it's thin. I didn't leave it to do its own thing, because a lot of this Nouveau stuff, if you leave it to do its own thing, then it's, you know, it self-levels and all of that. I don't know if this will, but we will find out when I come back. So I will be back. This will be 2 parts. If you like my video, please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you join me again. Everybody have a blessed day. Bye-bye now.